Okay, after I have a good portion of the bracelet done and my thread is getting a little short, I'm not going to be comfortable working with this amount of thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it, show you how to run it back through the piece and do some half hitch knots, and then we'll tie on a new piece of thread. So what I've done, this is where it's coming out of the top, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it down through the side and then through one of the inside core beads because it's kind of pulled apart a little bit. It'll pull it all back in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the needle and we're going to slip it underneath the threads within the bracelet. Just want to pick them up, pick a thread up. There we go. And then run the needle through the loop that you just created. And then pull, and then that's a knot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run it back through some more core beads. Just kind of twist it around until it comes out. And then again I'm going to slip it under some threads. Created another loop going through there, and I'm going to knot it 2-3 times. And I'm going to run it back through. I'm just going down the core. You can just kind of see how it spirals around. And give it another knot. Slip it under the threads. Back through the loop. And pull. Oops. Careful, don't get it tangled up in your work. Which is what I've done. And pull it. And then I'm just going to run this through again, 2-3 beads, and I'm going to bring it out, and then I'm going to snip this little, I'm going to snip this thread, and then we're going to thread the needle with another piece of thread, and I'll show you how to run it back up through the top. Just run off, cut off another piece of thread, however much you want to work with, maybe 2-3 feet, and thread your needle. And then what you're going to do is just start running it back up through the core, and hang on to a little tail so you can control it while you're knotting it. And again, we're just going to do a half hitch knot where we're slipping it under some of the threads. All we're going to do is do this several times and run it back up through the top of to the end of the bracelet where we ended, and then we can start over with the spiral rope and finish the spiral rope. And create a loop in there. I'll go ahead and leave my tails hanging until I get this done and snip them all at once. But sometimes you want to snip them before you start working again so you don't get tangled up in them. So this way you can work with less thread so it doesn't get as tangled. Oops. And you just may have to do this a couple of times during the bracelet. Rarely do I use enough thread to get one bracelet done. I'm usually always having to tie off and tie back in. It's easier to work with smaller pieces. Okay, now that I'm coming to the end here, I'm just going to run it all the way back up through these core beads, and then I'll be ready to begin again. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and cut my tails off with my dipper tool. You just want to get as close as you possibly can without cutting your piece. That's happened. Then all I do is we start picking up our core beads and our side beads again. Now that I've gotten the length that I desire on the bracelet, I'm going to end and put our toggle on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 of the core seed beads, and you know, whatever color you're using doesn't matter. We're going to go and pick up 3 seed beads. I'm going to slip one part of the toggle on. And I'm going to pick up 3 more seed beads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop them back through the 3. Actually, I'm going to pick up this last core bead here and then go up to the 3, go through the toggle, and go back up to this other 3 seed beads, and we're going to make a loop. And I'm going to tighten this. And then I'm going to run it through again just to tighten it up a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run it back through the core and do some half hitch knots. Half hitch knot, you just slide the needle under the threads, creating a loop, bring the thread through the loop, and knot. And I'm going to run it through a couple more. And make another knot. And then I'm going to run it back through to hide this knot through a couple more core beads. And then I'm going to end this end right here, and then we're going to take the other end and place the other part of the toggle onto it. Okay, what I've done on this end is just the end that we had the stop bead on, and all I've done is pull the stop bead off of this thread, and I've threaded my needle, and I'm going to string on 3 seed beads, the other half of the toggle, and another 3 seed beads, just like we did on the other end. And I'm going to pick up the last core bead and run it up through this 3 seed beads, through the toggle, and through the other 3 seed beads to make a loop. I'm going to go back up through the 1 core bead, the 3 seed beads, the toggle, and the other 3 seed beads just one more time. And then run it down to the core and do some half hitch knots. And then we'll be done with the bracelet. And then run it down to the core and do some half hitch knots. And then we'll be done with the bracelet.